How autistics recover from burnout depends on the person and what caused the burnout in the first place. Burnout can last minutes, but it can also last years. As we get older, burnout may become more common and harder to recover from. Um, Usually, the first step is to remove yourself from the situation that caused the burnout in the first place. It's a lot easier to recover when you don't have to mask. I know this sometimes isn't an option, especially if you're at a job and you need that job. Um, but in that situation, I can suggest maybe taking a sick day. I don't know. Um, there are some people who were well into adulthood who didn't realize that they were autistic until they reached burnout. It wasn't until that they finally saw that they had been masking for decades and finding out that they're autistic and learning how to take their mask off that they were actually able to recover. Removing the social expectations and the unconscious need to mask can help the healing process, whether it's going to be a short process or a long one. Sometimes recovery is something as simple as going to your bedroom to be alone for an hour. But other times it's as severe as dropping out of college or leaving a job. Sometimes it's even breaking off a relationship. Recently, Facebook reminded me that I cut a toxic friend out of my life 8 years ago, and that was probably one of the best decisions of my life. It's surprising how utterly exhausting constantly walking on eggshells can be. The second step is to be patient with yourself and reduce your self expectations. When we hit burnout, sometimes we can lose access to skills, or our ability to do certain things may decrease. It may be harder to go about your day to day activities as easily as you used to. And that's okay. It's frustrating and can make you feel like you're less than you once were. But that's not true. Your abilities will come back, but you need time to heal. Remember that this isn't your fault. These things happen. And beating yourself up over it isn't going to help anything. Feel free to take more breaks, indulge in your special interests more, stim more often. Also, remember that it's okay to ask for help from friends and family. At least those who are accepting of you and won't just call you lazy or something like that. There's no shame in getting help. We all need it from time to time. I'd say that the third step would be therapy. I know not everyone can afford it though. A therapist can help you find coping mechanisms to help you deal with stress, but you can find coping mechanisms on your own or with the help of a loved one. It was my partner who helped me figure out coping mechanisms. Different things are going to work for different people. I can't sit still and can't shut my brain off, so certain forms of meditation are impossible for me. I had to find something that worked for me. What works for you really depends on how your brain works. For some people, it's listening to music. For others, it's jogging. Find something you like and puts your brain into a positive place. Although that may be really tough, especially right now. After the year we had, maybe a bit harder to be positive, but hey, there are certain things to look up to. You may need medication to help you. If burnout caused high levels of depression or anxiety, medication may be the best thing for you. Again, it really depends on the person. I'm not a professional therapist. I'm just speaking from experience. Please don't take my word as one of authority. And finally, whether you've recovered enough to get back to life as normal or you're still in the recovery period, I'd say the final step in recovery is prevention. Learning your warning signs and finding methods and strategies to calm you down can help you have less severe burnouts less often. The most important thing to do is learn your triggers. Learn what sets you off and how you can most effectively avoid them as much as possible. Also learn your own signs that you're headed towards burnout. Keep in mind that the feelings and behaviors that arise as signals that you're reaching the edge. Self-knowledge is such a valuable asset when it comes to taking care of yourself. Hey, whatnot, I take Zoloft as well. It definitely has been helping me too. I'm glad it helps you. Knowing how you react to certain things helps you learn what you should avoid and what you should indulge in. Are you sensory seeking or sensory avoiding? What helps calm you down after specific situations? What stims are best for what stressors? Being self-aware can help you perform better self-care. If you know what works for you, you'll know how to react better when you start to become overwhelmed. Nothing is better for a person, whether autistic or not, than knowing your triggers and your recovery methods. Yeah. And sometimes you can't avoid your triggers. And I know I've been in that situation as well. And all I could do in that situation was wait it out. I had severe burnout. I remember, roommates that caused me to burn out very harshly. And I just kept being worn down because I didn't have an escape. And I'm hoping that one day you can find that escape. Move out or something. Do you want to add anything with how you helped me find ways to avoid, when we first moved here to China and you helped me find my coping mechanisms? You could talk from your experience.
Sure, I can do that a little bit. Um, One thing that usually I am good with is observing other people, so that definitely helps me on this. I mean, I'm a teacher, so I kind of have to. Am I successful all the time? No, but with this, when it comes to coping mechanisms, the big thing that I've noticed in terms of helping someone develop them, and again, this is completely amateurish. I am in no way a registered psychologist or psychotherapist, although I swear that is kind of under my job title anyway, so I'm becoming an amateur. um, is just being aware of what it is someone does that is positive in nature to them. Something that is a habit that seems to be enjoyable to them. For example, When someone, like Teresa said, is always moving, has a hard time sitting still, if you're going for a coping mechanism, you want to have a coping mechanism that can have movement as part of the outlet. You need to be watching for patterns like this. If someone, like I've seen in here, Robbie talking about chewing and stuff like that, then as an outlet for coping mechanisms, chewing should be something that should be accessible and involved in order to allow them to have a proper outlet and redirect that energy. Now, the stress of coming to an entirely new country is something that I am okay with because I've chosen this before in my life, but is entirely unique for Teresa.
Also, one thing is when right before we left, I was still on a lot of medication for my misdiagnosis of being bipolar. So essentially, I, with the help of a doctor, got weaned off that medication because we didn't know what was and was not allowed in China. So we also had to deal with that and figuring out coping mechanisms to deal with my lack of medication.
Indeed. And what basically went with this is keeping an eye out for what triggered those episodes of, oh my God, I've got a ton of stress, and figuring out ways around it. For example, Teresa does enjoy social interaction with good friends, but it takes its toll. So we've developed a certain thing like if it's getting too much, I watch for when she gets quiet, and then I'm checking, do you need to leave? Not always is the case. Other times is things like signals, just like, hey, this crowd's too much, we got to get out of here. And that can be a way to stave off a lot of it, like squeezing the hand or that kind of thing. A lot of it is, I think of it from the social dynamic, just because that's when I see them most of the time. But a lot of the other ways we developed them was just thinking about what were positive outlets. And what that meant for Teresa was, okay, so movement's part of it. You need to have a goal. Okay, so if you need to move, if you need a goal, if you need to just do something and get out of the house because everything is too much, buy a carrot. Yeah, I know that might sound a little silly, but having a goal, stepping out, just going to a store to buy a carrot with minimal social interaction, getting it out, and going and forcing themselves to go through a walk through a nearby park, which is the goal of this, is to get them out moving away from people in a different environment that is soothing to them, was one of the things that we did because both of us noticed that walking through that park was calming for Teresa. And that was kind of how we went about it, is we would take different things, different aspects of common traits and apply them and try them out in different ways to see if that would act as a calming effect. It was a lot of trial and error. We did a few silly attempts. But yeah. Well, what's up is clearly I care at all. Right? I care at all about this. Oh, was that a pun? Bad me.
Thank you. I figured since you're the one who helped me figure out my coping mechanisms, it would be good to get, your input. And thank you for that, and thank you for helping me find my coping mechanisms. It was very useful.